So that is the title for today's talk, The Heat is On. That is the theme for today. And when I actually wrote the description of today, which you may or may not have read, it went out an email, and it's in that flyer in the pew pocket in front of you. I wrote that I'm not talking about the Glenn Frey song from the 80s. I mean some other kind of heat, but we couldn't help ourselves. We had to bring that. We just had to bring that song. So I appreciate Sisters in Spirit putting that amazing, beautiful, and the band putting that great arrangement together and rewriting some lyrics to make them fit our theme for today. And that tagline that Michele kept singing is Spirit Living Life as You. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Bringing the heat of Spirit living life as you. The passion, the fervor, the excitement of Spirit living life as you. Because I believe that the passion, the fervor, the fire, the heat that is in you, that is Spirit as you, those things are spiritual truths about you. Our theme for this entire month is learning and looking at spiritual truths. Lessons, we've called them. Lessons in spiritual truths. And so the lesson in spiritual truth today is the truth that there is a passion, a fire, a burning, a heat in you to express in greater and expanded ways. And it is the God of your being that is that heat, that fire, that passion. Now, last week so we were all on the same page, I described what do I mean exactly by truth. What do we mean by that? Ernest Holmes speaks of truth a lot. In the passage that I read this morning as our service began, he spoke to truth. And what is truth as opposed to facts? There's a difference between facts and truth. And I shared some ideas about that last week, but I didn't share a particular quote from our Science of Mind textbook by Ernest Holmes that I love, that helps distinguish even deeper than where we went last week of what a spiritual truth is. So this is in a chapter around physical healing, so he's talking about disease, and so I want to read this to you. At least at the beginning of it, he talks about that, and then expands from there. So disease is a fact. And so we can also hyphenate that word if we want. We can think of it as disease as in the body, or dis-ease, any kind of anything that is causing us a lack of peace and wholeness and a feeling of harmony and joy. Anything, so anything could be dis-ease, is a fact but not a truth. It is an experience but not a spiritual reality. We must transcend the appearance even though we admit it as a fact. We are not so cold-blooded as to say to a person with pain that there is no such thing as pain. That is not our idea or our purpose. We admit the fact. And the next line is in all caps, which means Ernest really wants your attention. So pay attention to this. It is quite a different thing to admit its necessity. So we admit the fact, all caps, yelling at you, so you get this. It is quite a different thing to admit its necessity. Disease, accordingly, is a fact, but not a truth. It was a human fact. It was a fact in human experience for ages that people did not broadcast over a radio. But it was not a truth that they could not. Not doing that was not a divine reality, because had they known how to manufacture a radio and talk over it, they would have broadcast at any age. So we must try to see and sense that always back of the appearance, simply meaning behind the appearance, unseen but behind the appearance, perfection is. And the words perfection is are also in all caps. So what he is saying, and this is the biggest spiritual truth of all, that behind, back of any appearance, perfection is. Back of whatever is appearing in your life, perfection is. Back of any appearance in your life is the heat, is the passion, is the fervor, is the fire of Spirit living life as you. That's the spiritual truth of your being. So the question this morning is, are you embodying that spiritual truth? And embodying, we've defined that word before, simply means, do I believe it? Is it in my core, in my knowing, and am I living from it? That's what embodying means. So I have 5 questions to ask you this morning. And I invite you to answer them in your own heart. You do not have to answer them out loud. And I certainly do not want you answering them for your friend or partner that you're sitting with, because that's not what we're... Sometimes I ask a question and they go, oh yeah, that applies to him right there. No. That's not what we're going to do. This is for you. And so in these questions, the answers will be yes or no, or in a continuum from yes or no to yes, let's say. So no, never, ever, not in my wildest dreams, and any way I could fathom, no. Or yes, all the time, 100%, absolutely yes. And a big continuum in between there. So just touch in and think to yourself where you are on these questions. These questions really will, the answers will help you determine how much you are embodying the spiritual truth of your being. And wherever your answers are, it's okay. I want to say that right up front. There's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no wrong making to wherever you are is okay. There's always something to do no matter where we are in that continuum. So here are the 5 questions. Number 1, are you filled with energy, creativity, vitality, joy, and enthusiasm for life? Okay, good. Well, I love it when I do get an answer. Thank you, Reverend Sandy. Yes. So that's question 1. Question 2, do you feel the power of the presence of God in your life? Good. Yeah. Are you experiencing a continual flow of God's blessings, synchronicities, and abundance? Yeah, good. Are you manifesting your heart's desires and dreams? Yeah, woohoo! And are you feeling like you are living on purpose, sharing the gifts that you came here to share? Woohoo, yay! So that was 5 questions. I heard some enthusiasm from some of you. So here's the deal. If you're one of those who said yes, or even yes most of the time, yay. I celebrate that. I congratulate you. I say good work, way to go. And there's something very important then for you to do. And that is to share with the world what you have learned, how you have grown, and to share the gifts that you have identified that you have brought forth out of you. You have a spiritual responsibility to do that. And you have that spiritual responsibility for 2 reasons. Number 1, the world needs you. The world needs your gifts. The world needs your light. The world needs the unique way that you show up in this world, and the knowing that you have that God is present in your life, the enthusiasm and joy and vitality that you bring. The world needs you to do that. You need to do it as well for you. Because here's the deal. When we get it, and by that I mean embody it, when we get it, the way that we continue to grow spiritually is when we then give it. So once we get it, the way we grow spiritually is to give it. So it's so important, if you said yes to those questions, or yes most of the time, that you still stay on that path of sharing your gifts and being a light in the world. I've actually seen people in my courses, 18 years as a minister, who really embodied and lived and didn't give it out and share it back, and kind of, we'll say, backslid, and kind of then forgot, and the light got dimmer. So it's so important for us that we continue the journey by then sharing. When we get it, it's time then for us to give it, in whatever way that looks for us. But if you didn't happen to be on that side of the continuum of the yes or yes maybe, if you were on the no, or no, not so much, or no, not even on my best day, or maybe sometimes kind of if it's a good day, or you know what, I'm not even sure. I don't know if I'm living in those areas or not. Well, that's okay too. And if you're in the unsure place about any of those, let me just give you a statement that Reverend Johnny Coleman from the Universal Temple in Chicago, a beautiful minister who created back 20, 30, 40, I don't even know how many years ago, she created that movement. It's a general New Thought movement. She made her transition a number of years ago, but I had the pleasure. How many of you have heard of or heard her speak, Reverend Johnny Coleman? Just a couple of you. Not many people had the opportunity. Thank you, 50 years. Thank you. Oh, thank you. My, how time flies when we're having fun. Over 50 years ago, that sounds absolutely right, actually, Wendy, now that you say that. So I've heard her speak several times. She was an amazing, powerful woman, tall, black woman with a bit of an attitude. I mean, actually, she had a lot of attitude. And there was no messing around in her book. And this was one of her favorite statements. She said, if you know it, you show it. So if you don't show it, then honey, you don't know it. That is what she would say to you. So if your life isn't reflecting the answers to those 5 questions I gave, then it hasn't been fully embodied yet, and that's okay. All that says is you're in the right place this morning, and that you're on the right path, and you're doing what you need to do to fully and completely embody it. So wherever you are on that continuum, either yep or not showing it yet, wherever it is, I want to give you one simple suggestion, one simple idea that when fully embraced can turn the heat on, can flip that switch that only you can flip to really ignite the fire of the divine within you. And that is, get about the business of being you. Get about the business of being you. Ralph Waldo Emerson, great philosopher and influence on our founder Ernest Holmes, said, there is no planet, sun, or star could hold you if you but knew what you are. No planet, no sun, no moon, no star that could hold you if you but knew what you are. And what you are is the heat of spirit. What you are is a living, walking, talking embodiment of the divine with unique gifts to share in this world. Ernest Holmes tells us the eternal has placed itself at the center of our being. The discovery of this, the greatest truth about humankind, is the greatest discovery of the ages. Have we fully discovered it in ourselves? Have we discovered it? Are we bringing it forth? Are we letting it shine? Sometimes we can look around at others. I know this happens. I've heard us speak of this, and I've had it happen for me. We look at other people and think, now I see it in them, and they've got it, and I want, in the line of what Lonnie's been talking about this. What's that line from When Harry Met Sally? I want what she's having, right? You all remember that line, right? We know what that is, right? I want what she's having. Sometimes we think that I want what they've got. They've got it all together. They've got their action. They're sharing their gifts. They've got it. I want that. They must be more powerful than me. I want that. But nothing could hold you back if you knew the power that was in and as and living through you. There's a great illustration of this in the Tao of Pooh. How many of you know the Tao? P-O-O-H. The Tao of Pooh. How many of you know? The first service was so excited that I was going to share something from the Tao. Many of them like, oh, I know that book. It's called The Stonecutter. And it's an amazing illustration of how we so often look to others and think they've got the power that I want. So the story is that there was once a stonecutter, and he felt like he was That's good. That's good. That was so good. I love it. He felt that he had a lowly position in life, that a stonecutter was menial work and that he didn't mean anything and he was not powerful and he brought nothing. He felt worthless and powerless. One day he was walking down the street and he passed an open window of this beautiful home, and he looked in and he knew this home was owned by a wealthy merchant, and he looked in and he saw all the trappings of wealth and power in the home, and then he saw important people inside the home, and he thought, oh, that wealthy merchant is so powerful. If I were only a wealthy merchant, then I would be powerful, and then I would feel good about myself, and I would enjoy the luxuries of this life. And boom, all of a sudden a miracle happened, and he became the wealthy merchant. So this stonecutter turned wealthy merchant was walking one day, and all of a sudden a crowd amassed, and they amassed because coming along, being carried in a sedan chair, was a high official. And alongside this high official in the sedan chair were people with big feathers fanning them to keep him warm, and gongs preceding him, and everybody, including all the wealthy merchants, bowed in honor and reverence of the power of this high official. And the wealthy merchant thought, okay, now that guy's got power. I thought I had it as a wealthy merchant, but really the high official, he's got the power. I want that kind of power. And poof, miraculously, he became a wealthy merchant. So here he became a high official. So here the stonecutter turned wealthy merchant turned high official was in his sedan chair, and he's being carried along, and all of a sudden he's getting uncomfortable. He's getting hot. And he realizes that the sun is beating down on him and everybody else. And the sun doesn't care who it beats down on. The sun doesn't care who it heats up, because it just does it. That's real power. And so the stonecutter turned wealthy merchant turned high official thought, I want to have the power of the sun, and poof, he became the sun. And now he is feeling so powerful. But suddenly, something comes between the earth and the stonecutter turned wealthy merchant turned high official turned the sun, and it was a cloud. And the sun thought, whoa, there's something more powerful than me, because this cloud is in front of me and it's causing me not to shine down on anybody. That's what's really powerful, a cloud. I want to be a cloud. And of course, because we know what's happening here, poof, the stonecutter turned wealthy merchant, turned high official, turned sun, turned into a cloud. And now he felt more powerful than ever, and he was floating along, just so powerful. But all of a sudden, he started being pushed and moved, not of his own accord, not of his own volition, not of his desire. He was just pushed, and he realized that there was something stronger than him, and it was the wind. And so he knew that he needed to be as powerful as the wind, and poof, he became the wind, and he blew and he blew and he blew tiles off rooftops, and he blew up trees just to show how powerful he was. But all of a sudden, the wind came up against something that he couldn't blow over. And it was this tall, powerful stone. And he blew and he blew and he blew, and he could not turn over the stone. And as he's probably turning blue in the face, trying to blow down the stone, he hears and looks down at the stonecutter. You, exactly as you are powerful beyond measure. No planet, no sun, no star could hold you if you knew who you were. That's the spiritual truth of you. Ernest Holmes says, the higher the sense of truth, this truth, the greater will be the realization of the uniqueness of our individual character and personality. The real self is God-given and cannot be denied. It is the place where God comes to a point of individualized and personified expression. Each one of us, a unique expression of God with qualities, talents, and ways of expressing that nobody else can do. There's a great story in, it's not a story, it was a comic. Foxtrot, I don't know if you ever read Foxtrot, but in Foxtrot there's a young boy, he's probably about 10, his name is Jason, and he's a genius and quite precarious, and has a unique way of doing things. Precocious is the word I want. Well, precarious maybe too, but precocious is better. Thank you for correcting that word, I appreciate that. Precocious. Yeah, precarious means not steady. God, thank you. Got my grammar lesson for the day, that's good. So one day his mother says to him, Jason, what are you doing? And he says, Mom, I'm building a model rocket, which I will fill with salt, shoot into a cloud, and thus seed the cloud so it will rain. And the exasperated mother says, Jason, all I asked you to do was water the lawn. His response is, look, you do things your way, I'll do things mine. Right? So we have our unique ways of doing things in this world. We have our unique talents, our unique gifts, and they are ours to express. Now, I want us to do an experiment in just a minute, but before we do that, I want to speak to one quick thing. Because sometimes we bring our gifts to the table, and somebody says no to them. I was talking to Cerise earlier this week. Now, Cerise is a beloved soloist here, an amazing singer-songwriter. What a gift in this world. And she and I were talking about her work in the world and getting out in the world. And she said, Michelle, and I know she won't mind, because she always gives me permission to share. So this is just coming up for me now, but Cerise, I know you'll say yes to me sharing this. She said, I just realized I've really been hiding. I haven't put my work out, and I haven't put myself, because the reason this came up is she was telling me that she has submitted 2 of her songs to the POSI Awards. POSI Awards are Positive Music Awards every year, and they take submissions from New Thought songwriters all over the country, the world, and then they have awards, and all the ones that win get on a CD. So she said, I submitted a couple years ago, and I haven't submitted since, but this year I decided to submit 2 of my songs. And she said, I haven't really put myself out there. And the reason I know I haven't put myself out there is because I do not have a pile of rejection letters. And I said to her, that great book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull? That great book by Richard Bach written in the 70s? Amazing book. Amazing, life-changing book. It was the first book I ever read that introduced me to metaphysics, and I didn't even know that it was introducing me to it because I didn't even know what that was. But it was. Richard Bach tells the story of hundreds of letters going out to publishers to publish this book. No. He kept on. He had a gift to share. So just if we get a no to one of our gifts, it's just this isn't the right moment, the right time. It doesn't mean you stop asking. It doesn't mean you quit sharing your gift. You keep sharing. Does that make sense? Yeah. Cool. All right, so I want us to play. Will you play with me? Yes. Sure, yes. Even without knowing what I'm going to be asking of you. I love that enthusiasm and that trust. Thank you for having that trust in me. So what I want you to do is think for a moment about a gift, a unique way of expressing, a beautiful thing that you have in you to offer the world. Now, it may be you're already offering the world. You're very clear what it is, and you are offering it to the world. It may be you're not sure. It's just kind of a little rumbling that you don't know, you don't trust it, you don't know that the world wants it, I'm shy, I'm afraid. Wherever it is, I want you to identify it right now. And if you're one of those that says, I don't know what it is, just take a moment. Just close your eyes for just a moment. Just tap in and let the barriers go of I don't know what it is, because that's just ego and fear. Just know that there is that in you that is unique and perfect and beautiful. It's a gift. It's to be shared. And what I'm knowing is every one of us has something. And believe me, and accept this too, there is no big or small in God. There are no big gifts and small gifts. They're all gifts. So as you have identified yours, you got it? Say yes if you do. Yes. Okay. Because that was the easy part. Now comes the part where you get to stretch if you want to. Never have to play if you don't, but if you want to stretch, I would love for you to turn to someone. If you don't know that someone you're turning to, introduce yourself so you know each other's names. And for 15 seconds apiece, and I will say time, I want you to share with the other person what that gift is. If you want to share. You don't have to play if you don't want to. But I just want to promise you that if you play, you'll turn on some heat. You'll expand. Totally up to you. So if you share it in a way that don't be timid about it, don't be shy, don't be reserved, just speak it out there. You're going to be sharing it to somebody who's fertile soil who wants to hear it. So you'll have 15 seconds, that is so not very long, and I will say time. And then you'll switch and the other person will share for 15 seconds, and then I'll say time. All right, so if you want to play, find yourself a partner. Introduce yourself if you don't know each other. Pick a person to go first and begin. And time. See, 15 seconds, so quick. Shift to the second person. 15 seconds beginning. Go. And time. Take a breath. How did that feel? See, it feels pretty good, doesn't it? That feels pretty good. So you want to take it. Well, don't go away. Don't leave your partner. Don't leave your partner. Got part two. Part two. So part two is really going to heat it up. It's going to turn on that passion. Going to turn on that fervor. Going to turn on that power. This is what I want you to do. 15 seconds again. Share as if, and maybe the as if is actually true for you. Even if it isn't, share as if you are sharing that gift in the world. So describe a way that you are sharing that gift in the world. If you're really doing it now, you're speaking a fact. If you're not yet doing it, speak it as truth. All right? So, and you don't have to tell your partner if it's actually happening now or not. Just share it as if it is. So first person goes, 15 seconds, ready, begin. Time. That was time. So 15 seconds to switch partners. Last 15 seconds. And time. I love these words from Unity minister, author Eric Butterworth, whose a personal story I shared about him last week. But he wrote, "You do not have to beg life to be good or to bring good into your life. Life is like the sun. It shines on everything, but you must get out of the shadows. When you think of yourself as being capable and creative, you do not make yourself capable and creative. You simply let the light shine through your innate potential. This way of thinking does not make the creative power. It simply attunes us with the power which already is." So when you just shared the as if, when you just shared of your gifts and talents, you attuned yourself with the power that is. And when you do that, miraculous things happen, such as this. There was a preacher one day praying, fervently praying, and in the back there was a little boy, and all of a sudden that little boy whistled. And his mom's like, "Quiet, be quiet, be quiet." After service was over, the mom says to him, "What in the world was up with that? Right in the middle of the prayer, you whistle?" He said, "Yeah, Mom, I was praying for God to teach me how to whistle, and right then he did." So be prepared. When you turn the heat on by recognizing who you are and the gifts that you bring to life, and you continue to present them out in the world, miracles happen. I want to leave you with two quotes. Yes, you can go back now, Terry. It's good. Two statements that are so beautifully powerful. One of them is from Teilhard de Chardin, who was a monk in the 19th century, French monk and mystic. And he wrote, "It is our duty as men and women to behave as though limits to our ability do not exist. We are co-creators of the universe." And then taking that out into the bigger arena, beyond our own lives. When the spark of the divine found in each heart is fanned into a flame, together we will be able to set the entire world on fire. So let us close our eyes and join in consciousness to not only deepen into the realization of who we are, but to set the world on fire with that recognition. So who we are is a manifestation of the one presence, the one power, the one perfection that we call God, universe, source, spirit. Oh, so many names and terms, it doesn't matter. But there is that presence that brings the fullness of itself to and through and as everything, and sits at the core, at the center of everything, and is the perfection back of, to quote Holmes, everything. Everything including me, everything including each and every one of us. So here I am, here we are, as individualized, unique, personalized expressions of perfection, with unique gifts, unique talents, unique abilities to bring to the world. I speak these words right now, and as I do, I activate the law, and we flip on the switch. We ignite the flame, we turn the heat on, we bring forth the passion that is Spirit living life as us. Joyously, creatively, enthusiastically, abundantly, in blessed ways. This is what I affirm for each of us, and this is what I affirm for our world. As we each individually do this, we bring that light to the world, and we do set the world afire. So I'm so grateful that this is so. And know that that ignition switch lives inside of each of us, in the space within us, in that inner space. And so that is what we have done right now. We've flipped on that switch in our inner space by connecting with our truth. I'm so grateful for this. By remembering who, whose, and what we are. And by knowing that as we know that, no planet, sun, or star can hold us down. Thank you, God, for this. Thank you, life, for this. Thank you, Spirit, for this. And I release this prayer now into the law that is fertile, just like fertile soil. And release and know that it is done. So together we say, and so it is. Amen.